And hello everybody. Today we're gonna continue our little class tutorials. This time it's a different hero. So we've already covered Scout, we have already covered the Sniper and the Soldier. So now it's time for another guy. So we're gonna go into class skills and we're gonna start this mess. Soldier, Sniper. So today it's Engineer. Engineer is the backbone of every Horde game. If you don't have an engineer, just quit the game immediately. Just don't even bother. It's not gonna be worth it. So, what does the engineer do? It builds support structures, defenses, and even some offensive ones. So let's go through each and every one of them. Barrier cost, your barriers, which is like chain link or, well, not chain link, barbed wire and later on laser barriers are cheaper. This is good because barriers are one of the things you use to slow down the enemies. Barriers also provide you with time to react to enemies. However, they need to be repaired constantly, so either making them cheap or making them healthier is always a good idea. Next, decoys. Decoys are underestimated. They are a way of stopping the enemy from firing at other things, mostly you. But they also come with certain advantages. First of all, how do you build them? Not in terms of how do you pick them from the fabricator, but where should they be placed? The ideal structure is a hallway, and that hallway has to be a kill room, like super long, and then you try to funnel all the enemies into it. So you use barriers, and then you place decoys behind those barriers. So that makes the enemies get stuck in the barrier, giving you time to shoot them. At high enough level, those decoys have grenades on them, so when the enemies get too close, boom, killing the enemy. So that's good. Again, the cheaper they are to make, the better for you. Decoy health, also a pretty good one, because that means that they're taking more shots and diverting attention from you and from your turrets and all other things. So behind them, you should probably have sentries, but let's keep on going. So repair boost. This is mandatory. This is the one thing you need every single time. A repair boost makes it so it's cheaper to repair. You're the only class that starts with a repair tool. Otherwise, it has to be bought for 5,000 points, and if you die, you lose it. If you're an engineer, you always have it. So, yeah, make sure you have an engineer, and make sure that he has the cheapest available tool. So what this means is that you're wasting less money on repairs and more on fabricator upgrades, because, and this is something that I don't know if people have noticed, but the more fabricator purchases you make, the faster your fabricator levels. Actually, it depends on how much money you spend. So the first one is, I think, 30,000, and it keeps going up. But if you're not spending fabricator stuff, you're not upgrading the things in the game. Next, we have sentries. Sentries are automatic turrets. They can be very useful if placed correctly, ideally out of direct line of sight. So it's more of a, they can't get to it, and when they get to it, it's already shooting at them. Obviously, capacity means you have to waste less time refilling them, which is also done with a repair tool, by the way. The cost, if you can make them cheaper, that's even better. We have sentry speed. This means that they fire faster. That means more DPS. Always a good thing. Let's keep going. And then we have turrets. Turrets are controlled by players, and this is interesting. Turrets get a boost if heavies are using them. So engineers tend to build one for themselves. That's not a bad idea because, well, it does way much more damage than anything you have. You start with an enforcer, a shotgun, and the repair tool, so you have no sidearm. But it's also good if you have a heavy to build him a turret, and hope that he has the boost, or B, he knows how to use them. And then you have turret health. Again, the more you are focusing on killing things and less on repairing, better. And finally, the weapons locker. This one is super important too. It allows you to store a weapon. So usually what people do is you see a mulcher, you put it there. But you also can do other little tricks. You can take let's say you're a scout, because of course I'm going to talk about scouts. You have your shotgun and your overkill, your Gnasher and your overkill. And those two things eat ammo like crazy. So what you do is you put one in the fabricator, run with the other one, kill things. The next round you switch. And that way the overkill is getting reloaded while you're using Gnasher, then you switch, and then your Gnasher is getting reloaded while your overkill is being used. The higher your fabricator is, the higher your weapons locker can be, and that means it has more weapon slots, which is really cool. One thing to know is if you see a boss getting close to them, just grab them and run away. This can be done by anyone. It doesn't have to be the engineer, but generally the engineer is the kind of DPS you can live without. So just put them in a corner, hide them somewhere where people, well, not people, bosses and enemies can't target them as much, which would be really good for you because they hold weapons and things like that. Now, any structure you build, you can put down again. Why would you do that? Well, because sometimes you need to reposition, or maybe you placed it in haste and now you have time, or you notice that there's a blind spot, or I don't know, you just want to relocate further back because your base is getting too clunky. There's many reasons why you would want to pick up something. You would do that with the Y button. But also, if your anything that's been laid before your fabricator upgrades needs to be upgraded. How you do that, you pick up the thing with Y, and then you press X, and that will level it up. Of course, this costs extra credits, so keep that in mind. Don't go on a crazy upgrade spree. Make sure you prioritize sentries, then turrets, then barriers, then decoys. I think that would be my recommendation on how to upgrade things. And finally, let's talk about the skills. This one is mandatory. This is like not optional at all. You need this one. Build cost will let you do more and more and more for cheaper, which kind of goes against the whole idea of the, what do you call this thing? Oh, the upgrading of the fabricator, but at the same time it means you can build more things. So this one is really useful. Carry speed might be a good idea, but I would prioritize other things. Execution bonus, don't even think about it. Fortification health. Huh. This one is good, because this one is going to let you fortify. Oh, I just realized something. I recommended this for the scout. No. Okay, fortification health means that anything you build is going to be a little bit sturdier. So that's actually pretty good. And it affects everyone, so maybe like your whole team can pick it and that'll be a boost. Okay, and finally, team revive. You can use this to revive friends. It could be useful. If you haven't noticed, the engineer doesn't have a purple skill. Look at that, only blues and greens. So that's interesting. Maybe in a future expansion they'll get something, because if you notice it says Sentry Speed, Rare Engineer Skill, Launch Series. So there's probably going to be a second or third series, and they're going to have new things for you to use on your games. So, basic recommendations: build, 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 stay in the back, repair, kill things. So let's review. The Engineer is a complicated class that requires determination, planning, and a very good eye at covering blind spots. Without him, an entire run of Horde is impossible. You cannot complete the game if you do not have enough defensive structures by the time you reach level 50. So, what should you do to become an effective engineer? First of all, only build what's necessary. Don't go crazy leveling up structures, putting barriers everywhere. Pick a place where you can funnel the enemies and then control the access to those areas. Once you have built your death corridor or death room, which is the area where you want to funnel all the enemies, it's time to construct offensive structures. You can do this by constructing turrets or sentries. If you feel that there are many blind spots, it might be in your interest to cover them with sentries. However, turrets will allow you to reposition them and find the best angle possible for the specific moment you are in. Try to build and maximize at least one turret, although 2 would be ideal. This all depends on the amount of credits you can gather. Don't go out of your base trying to collect all the credits you can. Another recommendation when constructing barriers, like you see in the video, is to actually put it in front of your cover, so that way the enemy cannot jump over your defensive structure. This is important to maintain a secure base. Finally, make sure that you have a good weapon on your side. Although the Enforcer is good enough, a shotgun might help you to push back in case they break through. Also, make sure that you have a heavy. You have to have at least one weapons locker for him to be switching between heavy weapons and reloading his basic loadout. This will ensure that he has a constant stream of heavy ammo to keep your base secure. By the last rounds, you should have a completely secure base with enough turrets for all your team, sentries covering the blind spots, or even the turrets themselves, so in case something gets through, you don't have to leave your turret. Decoys can be useful to attract enemy fire. It depends on how your team works and how many spaces can be left unattended. Barriers should be placed in choke points. And finally, don't forget to get a good mix of skills, including repairs, structure health, and sentry damage. If you follow this advice, you should be able to hold down to 50 and succeed without any trouble. This was I'm Bad for Giddy Games. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.